Welcome to episode 46 of Walleye Chronicles with Erik Kraemer of Kraemer Custom Rods. You always thought custom rods were out of your reach? Well, sit back and listen because maybe closer than you think. Ladies and gentlemen, Erik Kraemer.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Walleye Chronicles, where I get you out of your boat. We come in here and we start talking fishing. So if you're looking to be on an episode of Walleye Chronicles, hit me up on my socials at Matt Snell on Facebook and Instagram, or over on the talk at Smile and Fish. Today, I have my first ever rod maker in. Is a gentleman, is a local band from West Bend, Wisconsin, the owner and operator of Kraemer Custom Rods, Erik Kraemer. How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me here, man.
No problem.
Good
So
to be here.
I met you down at the Oshkosh Ice Show.
Yep.
And you had some cool rods, started talking, and then I realized that I need to talk to this guy on the show.
Yeah, it's good to be here, man.
So let's kind of do some background. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in West Bend. I'm West Bend my whole life. So I'm a Wisconsin boy, I guess, at heart. But grew up in West Bend and learned to build fishing rods actually from my great uncle. He was from West Bend as well. He built a lot of rods for a lot of guys, just all more local stuff. You know,
Gotcha.
he didn't do it for a living, but he was really good at it and did it for a lot of local people.
So what was your fishing life early like?
Oh, early, like when I was young, I mean, it was a lot of like down by I lived close to the Milwaukee River in West Bend. So, I mean, we'd be down there horsing around, catching smallmouth and whatever bites. You know, we were always chasing something. A friend of really good friends of mine, childhood friends, then their uncle who lived next to them, they lived out in the country.
Yep.
But their uncle, who was their neighbor, had a pond, and we were down there fishing anytime we could.
So just fishing for anything?
Bass, and there was big bluegills in that pond, so that was always fun. But I grew up, you know, fishing with my dad too. I mean, my dad was still an avid fisherman, and so we'd go to Canada once a year for sure.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I went to Canada probably. I tell people this. I think the first time I went, I think I was 7. I think it was when my dad took me. So from when I was 7 until I was like 28 or 29, I never missed a year. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. So it's 22, 3 years
right.
straight, whatever. I went to Canada. And then when my son was born, my first son was born, I took a little break. Then it got a little crazy. Then I had another, you know, so I got 2 boys. But now I take them up there too. And my dad still goes. I mean, so that was a big part of my great uncle is the one who taught me how to build rods.
Right.
He's the one that started taking us to Canada too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So did you guys have a boat growing up, or you all like shore stuff?
Yeah. No, we had a boat. I mean, my dad had a boat, but I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be fishing as much as I could. So if my dad was at work, I was, like I say, down in the river or out by my friend's house fishing in the pond or whatever we could do.
All kinds of trouble you get into too?
Nah, we didn't get in
No
trouble. We were pretty good. We were fishing, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was fishing too when I was a kid. We also got a lot of trouble.
Yeah, sometimes we fished in places we kind of weren't supposed to.
Right.
We'd sneak in there and go, but I, never really got in trouble for it. So I guess I kind of look at it if the kid's fishing.
Right. Yeah. Right.
There could be worse things they could be doing.
Yeah. We used to get yelled at all the time to go into this one. We used to get yelled at. We went into this back bayou area, but it was from a river, right? But it went into any guy owned the land. But we would walk in the water, and he would come and we'd be staying in the water. And he would get so mad at us. We'd be like, "Oh, we made it in by the water, right?" And just a bunch of 14-year-old kids being smart asses, which we thought was funny, but he didn't think was very funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting. Then he put a gate right down into the water, kind of, so we couldn't get in anymore. But
really,
yeah, at some point I was like, my dad was like, "Hey, it's not really worth it anymore." I'm like, okay, I get it, but it's
true.
It would definitely was fun, and you could catch you're catching a little bit better fish in there. So
yeah.
So you guys had what kind of boat you have?
Oh, let's see. The first boat my dad had that I really remember was a 16-foot Lund, I believe, with like a 35 Evinrude on it. Forget what the model Lund was. Wasn't nothing too special. Had a floor in it, and that kind of stuff, and some seats, but it was a tiller.
Any issues with it? Any like special ways to start it and that stuff?
No, that thing ran good. Yep, that thing ran good. And then he sold that, and then he got a Lund. I think it was called a Predator or something like that.
Oh, I do remember.
That was like a 16-footer, 16 and a half actually had a Suzuki on it way back before Suzukis were like they're getting a little more popular now, but this was like an old 2-stroke Suzuki, a local guy at a West Bend, a dealership.
Oh, how
Sold
about
Suzuki in London.
That's funny.
That was a really good boat. He ran that boat for a lot of years and never missed a lick. And matter of fact, he sold it to a guy he knew, and that thing was still running 25 years later. Seriously.
Right? They don't make stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no. So
them old motors stick around. You get a good one, you can keep them forever.
Yep.
So fished all through high school. When's the first time that you knew you had a custom rod in your hand? Or was it always because he was in your family? So you grew up with nothing but custom rods.
I did. The first fishing rod I ever got, my great uncle, I stood up in his daughter, or I was the ring bearer. I was 6, I think. 6, 7, maybe. So the first fishing rod I ever really got and used religiously, what he built for me. He gave it to me as a gift for it being in his daughter's wedding.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So then, anytime I needed a rod, I just went and talked to him. And he built me a bunch of them. I mean, probably 8 or 10 maybe or something. And then I sold a few to some friends and stuff. And then, or they'd go to him and say, can he build me one of those? Right. Yeah, sure. And then I think I was a junior in high school. And I knew all about it. I knew all the parts, and I knew, so I'd go to him and I'd say, hey, Uncle Butch, can you build me, I want this blank. I'd have the book. He'd give me, I want this blank. Can you put these guides on there? And I'd tell him exactly the grips I wanted and everything. And then finally, when I think I was a junior, he says, all right, I'll get the parts. Then you get your ass over here and build it. And I said, all right, sounds good. So I think I was a junior in high school, and he actually lived right over by the West Bend High School. So I'd stop at his house after school and work on stuff. And so
how that first one go for it? Did everything work out the way you wanted to?
It went pretty well. I mean, he helped me a lot. I mean, he showed me the ropes and walked me through a lot of things. And the first one went pretty well. He is a fussy son of a gun, so but I carry that with me to this day. There was a few things on that first one I thought I did pretty darn good, and then he looked at a few things. Oh, you could have done this and you could have done that. But hey, he was pretty well known in our town for building nice stuff. Okay. And so then once I started doing it more, he kind of, he was getting a little bit older at that time already. He was probably in his 70s, early 70s probably when he taught me. And then, he got into his mid 70s, late 70s, and then he didn't want to do it anymore. So anybody that would call him up and say, hey, can you build me a rod? He'd say, oh, no, go talk to my nephew. And then they'd call me. So
when you first built that first one after high school, did you have any idea, foreshadowing, that this could be coming down the road?
No, probably not at that time.
Just thought it'd be after.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd be something I'd end up doing for a living. No, I didn't think so. But
did you think like I can make some money at this? Sell a couple here.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was. It was honestly, it was like, all right, let's make some extra money to support my fishing habit.
Right.
And that was when I started doing it, and I just enjoyed it. I mean, I liked it. I liked the fact. I mean, it maybe sounds cliche a little bit when you talk to custom rod guys or whatever, but once you fish with a custom rod, it's kind of hard to go back to something else.
Yeah, I've heard that about even people that do make their own jigs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Once you make that you catch that first thing on your own product, start to finish, it's hard to go back. I recently started doing just jigs and stuff like that, just in the wintertime. I don't have much to do, right? And at some point, so I don't mind pouring lead and spray paint and whatever. So it was actually nice the first time I caught I made that. I had that lead, I melted it down.
It's a neat feeling.
I put a lie on there, yeah. So how did it progress then for you? Did you go to school, college, or did it?
I did. I went to college. I actually played baseball in college.
Where'd you play baseball?
I got a college scholarship. I played at UW Parkside.
Nice. Okay.
Down Racine, Kenosha area. Yep. So I had a little small hand rod winding thing I even built some rods while I was in college in my apartment, and but not too many. But then after college I kept doing it, and a few more guys would call me, guys that my uncle would refer, and just word of mouth, family and friends and people talked. And
so how many were you making back then?
I guess it'd be hard to say. I don't know.
But like one a week or
when I got out of college, I would say maybe a couple a month, something like that. You know, it was fairly regular.
Keep your beak wet, kind of.
Yep. And then, you know, as I got married and got, you know, then I moved and I kind of had a shop set up in my parents' basement when I was, you know, when I was first out of college. I was still living there, and so then once my wife and I bought a house and got all that stuff, and I turned my whole basement into a shop and started getting a little more serious with it.
Yeah.
And started doing some, you know, shows, like sports shows.
What was the first show you did?
The first show I ever did was the Milwaukee Muskie Expo.
Were you terrified? Yep. Not like I'm terrified of like people hate your stuff, but like, were you terrified all of a sudden you get like 900 orders the next day or like that?
A little bit. I wasn't sure what to expect, you know, because I still had a full-time job. You know, I was working construction with my dad, and had a full-time gig. So I did. Yeah, I was like, what happens if I go here and sell 50 rods, and then what am I going to do? You know, but that didn't happen. But I sold some rods. You know, that first show I was kind of impressed, and it was a cool deal. So then I did a few more, and then it kind of started to snowball a little bit, and it started, I would say, in like 2014, 15-ish, it started to get difficult to do both.
Job,
right? Okay. To keep my full-time job, and I actually met. I don't know how, you know. I don't know if you know, but I sponsor Sportsman's Journal TV. Yep. Mm-hmm. Tyler and Sarah Trampy, great people. I actually met Tyler in 2015, I believe, and we met by chance. Like it was not. He didn't have a TV show then. I was just
randomly.
No, yeah, he didn't have a show. As a matter of fact, he was running a camp. He was running a camp up in Canada for the summer. You know, he was guiding and running a business out of that camp, and he lived fairly close to me in the winter months. He's from Midwest here. He's originally from Iowa, but he lives in Wisconsin. We met by chance. I actually was just called him up and chatted with him about going up to his camp in Canada, and we got to chatting, and he was guiding out of the camp, and at that time, I think he was still doing a little bit of guiding in northern Wisconsin even, and he was doing some YouTube stuff and just kind of getting his name out there a little bit, but he didn't have a show or anything. And we got to chatting, and I said, I think you need to stop over here and check out some rods. And he did. And as soon as he picked one up, he's like, we need to chat. And so we did. And it you know, so I started kind of helping him out, and he was helping me out, and it started working out really good. Like I had him using, you know, he was guiding every day when he was at his lodge. So I said, here you go. Here's some rods. Keep them in your boat, mainly walleye stuff. Mm-hmm. A few muskie rods too. He was guiding for muskies once in a while. But I said, when you take clients out, let them use these things. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, you know, I would get call after call like, hey, I just fished with Tyler. I got to have one of those rods. And it was like, man, this is working, you know? And anyways, then it really started to get hard to keep up with both. And then I think it was 16, maybe late 16, 2017 maybe, he called me up and said, hey, we're going to be doing that TV show.
Oh.
He's like, you want to be a part of it? And I'm like, yeah. And when that happened, then it was like, okay, I can't do this. I got to do one or the other here. And we went for it.
How was that decision? That must have been, or did you know it was coming for a while?
I mean, it was kind of, you were kind of getting built up to it. Yeah. Because it was, you know, it was starting to be like too much to try to keep doing both, you know? And, so it was like, that was it then. It was like, all right, let's do it.
Had you had anybody helping you out to that point yet? You were just doing it all by yourself?
All alone.
So how many,
by myself.
At that point, how many were you making, you think, a month?
I was probably making a few a week, you know, probably trying to get 5, 6, 7 rods a week done.
Wow.
Yeah. maybe
So
even
you're-
more, maybe more
You're
than
basically
that. Like,
eating on your spinning table every night.
right. Yeah. And and I had little kids at the
Yeah.
time. My kids were fairly young, and it was like, you'd come home from work, hang out with my wife and play with the kids, and then eat, and then go back downstairs, and it was
But it was still enjoyable then, though.
yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable, but it was getting to be,
A lot.
not fair to my family probably, and stuff. But I mean, that's kind of you hear that a lot when guys start a business. Like the first few years are
Tough.
a little bit of a grind.
Everybody's got to kind of chip in, and a lot of it may not be necessarily them helping you, just
No,
dealing with you. And
my wife was and is a saint, dealing with, just you being gone or you being downstairs instead of up with her and the kids and helping and at times. And but those years are hopefully, I mean, there's still times. This time of year gets kind of crazy. The springtime gets pretty nuts. But it's been good. It's been really good the last few years.
So you made the switch in 2016 then?
Yeah. I think it was late 2016 where I was just like, okay, let's go. Let's do this. And we went for it. So
everything, once the switch happened, did anything change, like for you making rods, or was it where you had to like start pushing marketing more? Were you afraid that you wouldn't have enough then, knowing that you need to make a
little more? There was a lot of fears of like, okay, how is this going to work? Now, if this is my only income stream. Honestly, it went easier than I thought, I guess. To be quite honest with you, I don't do a lot of marketing. That's not really, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that I'm not that good at it, probably.
But it says a lot for your product, though. Obviously,
yes.
It's the word of mouth is the best marketing there is.
Yes, and the show with Tyler and Sarah is probably my biggest marketing tool. And then, I mean, we do a few things on social media and stuff like that. Once in a while, we'll run some little promotion things and stuff. But
you do all the sports shows, right? Most of them.
Yeah, I don't do a ton. I do 5 or 6 shows a year usually. We've kind of picked and choose over the last few years which ones do the best for us. You can't do them all,
right?
Sometimes you wish you could, I guess, and make some extra money, but you got to be at home with the family too.
Yep.
And so I mean, it's been not as much of a grind as I guess I thought it would be as far as trying to drum up business.
I gotcha.
I've been able to, use the tools of Sportsman's Journal, use the tools of social media to get my name out there, and repeat business, I guess, is pretty huge for us. Like once people start using stuff.
That's the thing. Once people get tied into something, we're us sportsmen can be really, really big brand bunnies.
We can. That's for sure. Yeah.
Especially when it comes to poles. It's tough. I know I have grew up with a certain rod that I use nonstop, and I've tried all kinds of rods. And I don't necessarily it's not like I don't necessarily not like other people's rods.
Oh yeah.
You're stuck.
You're stuck.
You're drinking that Kool-Aid. Sure. You're stuck there.
Yeah.
It's like, my tournament partner, he uses a custom company as well, and I had the boat, and I tried it, and I'm like, I like it. I don't know, I'm up here, I'm broke.
Sure.
Right? It's just one of those things where like you gotta kind of push yourself.
Yeah, we like what we like, and that's that's what makes the world go round, though, too. Yeah. There's a lot of competition out there in the fishing rod industry, fishing industry as a whole. It's a very copycat industry, and we just kind of keep our nose down and keep doing what we do, and try not to worry too much about what the other guys are doing, and we just keep. I mean, I tell people it's kind of hard sometimes because I have one guy that works for me, so between me and the one guy we build every single rod that goes out of that shop.
So how long before
I'm down there building every day.
How long before you hired the first guy?
I think I hired him in 21. Okay. I think it was 2021. 2021, I think I hired him.
How many rods do you make?
Now we're up to between 600 and 700.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is I mean, some guys that might be a lot. Some guys that might, other rod companies, that's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, that's probably an hour, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But for us, we're very happy with that. Yeah.
So was it hard bringing somebody else in and train them? Did you have to bring back Uncle Butch to yourself to kind of like be hard on them and like, hey, no, you can't let that slide?
I got, I'll give him a little plug. The young guy that works for me, I call him the young guy. He's like 23. I got blessed, lucky, whatever you want to say. He's just a great dude. Great dude. He's fussy. He wants stuff to be perfect, just like me. And it was pretty easy to train him. I mean, there was definitely a learning curve for him to get to get good and proficient, and but it was not difficult. Not with him. So I've been very blessed in that department. I mean, you talk to a lot of people that have people that work for them, and
it's
they're
tough
like,
to find.
Finding good help is so hard. And I'm like,
correct. Like, what are you talking about? I was 1 for 1.
Yeah. His name's Mitch, and I'm lucky to have him. That's for sure.
Hey listeners, let's talk outdoor streaming. What is the best outdoor streaming platform out there? Well, it's simple. It's Fix TV. Not only do they have this great program, but they have all kinds of hunting and fishing shows along with some weaponry shows. So when you get bored and need something to do, get your fix with Fix TV. And when you're done with that and you have that fix to get out in the outdoors, jump on therealshot.com and get everything you need to satisfy your fix.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So you guys, how long it takes you about a rod a day then basically for one person?
Oh no, we can crank out a few rods a day. I mean, if we have to, I mean, we got a pretty good system now, like especially with spinning rods, your main majority of what I do is spinning rods. I mean, we do plenty of musky stuff. We do some fly rods and some bass rods, bait casters and stuff, but any given day we're probably building 3, 4, 5, 6 spinning rods.
So does it start to, you do one start to finish, or you guys got kind of like a...
No, we got a little bit of a something that we can do. I mean, you're only wrapping when you're actually wrapping. Right. You're wrapping one rod at a time. I mean, you're not going to jump back and forth. But we'll put together 6 rods. We'll put the handles on, glue them up so they're ready to wrap.
I gotcha.
Then we'll have 6 rods ready to wrap, let's say, on a given day.
That makes sense.
And then, then he'll start wrapping. And as soon as he's getting them done wrapping, then I'll start finishing, putting the finish on them, and I write on them and stuff. I write everything by hand. All the model, the length, and the lure rating, line rating, all that stuff.
Think good writing.
Yeah, I'm blessed in that department too. Yeah, my mom's dad was an artist, and a very good artist, and he had real good handwriting. Maybe I got it from him or something. I don't know, but
I mean,
yeah. So I don't know. A lot of people seem to like that.
Right? Yeah, it's an extra touch.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. But
so there is a lot of custom rod companies.
There is a lot more over like the last 5.
So why do you think that is? Because they're not technically okay. So a custom rod for most people is, people think, he makes it, should be cheaper, right? You're making it, but it's a custom rod, so you have better components, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So your prices are higher up, generally towards a nicer end rod. There's also a lot of rods in the $60, $70, $80 range. Why do you think there's so many people that are going to custom rods nowadays?
I guess
support amount of people.
I think it's real easy, that answer to me. I think, I'm speaking somewhat for myself here, but I think more and more people, especially the last, I would say 5 to 7 years, I've noticed definitely a big jump in the demand for custom rods. And I don't want to get like, I think we all know, anybody in the fishing industry knows probably 80% of fishing tackle, rods, lures, you name it, is getting made overseas.
Yes.
Right?
Comes on a boat.
Yep. And there's a perception to that, maybe, that some of that stuff isn't as good as it can be.
Correct.
I'm not here to debate that.
Right.
What I just think society as a whole these days, you have big companies, and rod companies, lure companies, they all get bought out, right? And
Right, yeah. And they
change
send their
hands all
stuff
the
to
time.
Mexico.
And then
or
what do they
whatever,
do? They figure out a way to make it cheaper, keep that name, right? Keep the name you had, and we'll figure out how to make this cheaper. And we're not going to charge less for it. But we're going to make it cheaper, right? And I think people are getting wise to that. I think. And that's just that's just not that's not something I want to buy.
Right.
And so that's why we were born, essentially, or whatever. I mean, I don't mind. And my rods really don't. I mean, we start at $200.
Yeah. No,
I mean, that's not a cheap rod,
No.
but it's certainly not a crazy expensive rod for this day and age at all. And I can promise you, like, if you compare something apples to apples, price wise, my stuff's gonna outshine it by quite a bit. But I think people are not afraid to spend a little bit on something if they know it's good and someone took their time and made it and is proud of what they made.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the local, built locally, and just American products, right? I mean, it's kind of like the gun culture, right? I mean, they want a local gun shop that's going to be nowadays. They're putting
I'm in that same boat. I mean, I like shooting. I'm kind of a gun guy, but yeah, I'd much rather walk down the street to the local gun guy or whatever than go to a big box store.
Right.
And like I tell people, I'll once in a while I'll put a little post on social media, Facebook or something, thanking people because when you buy stuff from me, you're supporting a family, not a big corporation or something, which it means a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is weird. It just surprises. I always thought like the money available, not the money available, to just that. But there's so many rods getting bought, and there's so many cheaper alternatives.
Absolutely. And some of those cheaper alternatives are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not gonna.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, Shields puts a lot of stuff with their name on it. That is pretty good stuff, right? I mean, it's fairly reasonable price. Which maybe it's more of I'm looking at it like I can't believe people are spending this money, but maybe it's a better thing they're kind of starting off the industry, as new fishermen and working their way up, and all of a sudden, hey, I want to, use somebody's rod here. It's custom, and hey, this is a different feeling.
And what's interesting in the store-bought rod realm, and this is my opinion. I won't bring any company's names into anything. I won't do that. But I will just talk like price points here. I really think in the store-bought big rod company, the stuff you're buying in the store now, that's like, let's say between $140 and like $200, to me is not where you want to be. Some of the stuff you can buy for like $100 or less is going to be just as good as that $150, $60, $70, $80 store bought stuff. Where if you're flirting in that store bought rod range of like 150 to 200. You should call a custom guy, because I'm not going to say call me, but I mean, because we can get you into something that's really, really nice for that $100. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that's crazy to say that, because it seems like there's a lot of, and that's like I don't know if that's where the next step of the market, but it seems like everybody tries that window is that's a pretty popular window, right? I mean, you have generally, if it's not going to be on a rack, if it's not in that window.
Yeah, I mean, you see there's a lot of stuff,
but like the ones that are out separate, right? That are out separate from the main rack. Those are the 150 to 200. I always assume those are the ones that are making the most money off of too, probably.
Yes, you're probably right.
They're probably produced pretty similarly to the $80 ones. They put a different name on it, and maybe a couple
different other features or something. But yeah, they're not costing that much more to make. Right.
And especially, I always thought it's funny when companies like that are buying at such bulk rates. Right. I mean, the prices don't have to be that.
It's hard to compete with the bulk. The foreign market is if people knew what companies were actually paying for a rod that's produced, I'm not going to get into numbers because I know, but it's crazy. I can't even buy parts for what they're getting a completed rod for. It's crazy.
Thanks.
But that is what it is. Like I say, that's not going to change.
And there's no way you'd ever go to the dark side and just be like, hey, let's just let's just make a bunch of money quick and get out?
You know, I'd be lying if I said I didn't explore that option.
Right.
I've explored that option, and then some options I've explored are maybe trying to, still keep doing my custom stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but also have a line
Oh,
that's less money,
I gotcha.
right? And I might do that. Could be a possibility someday to try to hit
like
that
an introductory line kind of thing.
I get people all the time that email me or call me, and nothing wrong with it. They'll, can you build me something for like 130, 140? I'm like, no, sorry, I can't, for what
Mm-hmm.
the time we have into it is almost worth that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just tell them, we start at $200. That's about where we're gonna start.
Yeah.
And can't do much for less than that. Now, in order to do that, I would have to, if I want to get down in that, let's say $100, $120 price point or something, I would have to explore that option of, and I have explored it, but I don't know. We're doing okay.
Yeah.
And it's working. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
So tell me a little about building rods in general. What's the kind of take me from scratch on all the way up?
I mean, you start with the blank. I mean,
right. So is there like, obviously blanks are different. They come, you guys cut
a lot of different materials.
So how do you settle on the blanks that you use? And
I've settled on the blanks I use because I really firmly believe they're made in the USA. They're made by, I don't know if I should get into all that or who I get all my stuff from, but
you don't have
by
to.
Somebody that's
fine.
Is let's say a legend in the fishing rod business. Okay, that's who they're made by. And I'm a firm believer in good stuff. Yeah. I'm a firm believer if someone's gonna lay down $200, $300, $400 for a fishing rod, I want it to be the best dang fishing rod they ever picked up.
Gotcha.
And so that's if I don't believe in it and think this thing is top notch, I'm not gonna use it.
So, yeah. Don't give away your trade secrets.
No, I'm not gonna.
But you're not buying so you obviously have the book and you're not going through and going, okay, well this guy wants this, but I can get this. It's you're picking out the top of line of basically every component you put in.
Yeah, I mean there's a balancing act, to.
I suppose some things don't need
top
to be
of the line stuff.
Right.
It's just like anything. You go buy cars, boats, whatever.
What's important to you?
There's steps, there's Fuji Torzite guides, which everybody knows. A lot of people know about. Those are a very high-end guide. They're phenomenal. They're very good guides, but they're very expensive. They're very expensive.
Look expensive.
I mean, you're talking $100+ for a set of guides.
For my cost.
That's just for the guides. That's what the guides cost me.
Damn.
Yeah, they're expensive, but they're titanium. The frames are titanium. It's a unique. The ceramic ring is a unique material. I can't even remember what exactly they call it, but it's very hard and it's thin.
Oh,
so it's like half the thickness of what they normally would use, like their SIC or it's so you're shaving a lot of weight.
Yep,
those guides.
Mm-hmm.
But now those guides have been out for several years, and there's other companies now that have come out with, let's face it, copies of it. And they're excellent, and they work really good, and they're half the price. And that's the name of the fishing world that we're talking about.
Pretty much.
So we use some of those. If a guy comes to me and says, I want the Torzite, that's fine, but you understand it's going to cost this much, and they usually do. But we have a lot of options. I mean, we use guides that my guide trains are slightly different probably than most. I shouldn't say probably. My guide trains are different than most people. They cast really well. They're a little bit more trim.
Gotcha. So you're telling me the guides matter when I'm casting?
Oh, absolutely.
So you could get. So if I was in a golfing term, if I changed up my guides, I could get longer distances, more accurate casts, all that kind of fun stuff. All in guides.
Yep. Guides make a huge difference.
What do you think?
Huge difference.
So what's the most important part of a reel? Do you think?
A rod, you mean?
A rod. Yeah, a rod. Sorry. Is the handle, the guides, because I guess the blank is depending on what you want.
To get the right blank the right blank for what you want to do is important. I mean, but to be honest with you, if you get all the aspects working together, you would be surprised how big of a difference that good component and the right component will make. Yeah. I mean, I tell people this, you could take the most state-of-the-art, best rod blank the world has ever seen and put crappy components on it and just ruin it. Right? Like
Right,
it'll
that's
weigh it
close.
down, be heavy, won't cast like it should. Like you could completely ruin it by putting the wrong set of guides or a heavy grip, you know, you name it. There's all kinds of grip materials out there that I'm not sure why they're out there, but you can take a mediocre blank, just a decent graphite blank, you know, a mid-grade, something that's not going to be super expensive, put really good components on it, and you have a kick butt fishing rod, you know?
I never thought about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in your time, so you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I built my first fishing rod, I think I was a junior in high school. That was 1998.
Okay. So you've been, for 27 years?
Yeah.
What has changed the most in the component wise and stuff? Just the materials?
Materials, the carbons, you know, the carbon grips and that kind of stuff has really revolutionized. I don't want to say revolutionized, but made things better for sure. The guides, smaller guide trains, really revolutionized, I think, the spinning rod world, especially bait caster somewhat too. But yeah, the way we've been able to shave weight now is, I mean, you pick up a rod, even a mediocre rod nowadays, a mediocre rod from 20 years ago. It's like, whoa.
You had one at the show that I picked up that was crazy light. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, we got, you know, it's funny. You see social media and you see ads for rod companies, and they're bragging because their rods are like 3.5, 3.6 ounces. I got stuff that's like in low 2s. You know, it's only, you know, it's an ounce, but that's a lot.
It's an ounce when it's in your hand all day long.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It is. And when the whole rod only weighs 3 ounces,
that's,
you know, that's a lot. But you know, I would say even our $200 stuff. I mean, I can get you in a medium light spinning rod between, let's say, 6.5 and 7.3.
It's not really good,
and it's going to be sub 3 ounces or right in that neighborhood. So still very, very light compared to anything you'll see in the store. Very, very light.
What do most people look for? What's their one complaint, or what is there a reason why people are coming to you? Like special handles, special this? Is there
handles are big? Handles are big. I'm a firm believer in a handle that's comfortable. I see a lot of stuff now that has all jagged looking lines and cutouts for the reel, cutout for the blank to show through. Half the time when you see that in a store-bought rod, that's not even actually the blank that you're seeing. It's a sleeve that looks like the blank. But then when you do those cutouts, you got sharp edges coming out, especially where the feet of the reel go in. They got to bow that out a little bit for strength. Smoother, more bullet shaped stuff is going to be much more comfortable to fish with all day.
So what's what if you were your handle? What would your handle be?
The handle?
Yeah. How would you rank them? Like old school cork down to
I would
foam,
say
graphite.
Cork and foam would be about the same for me. They're neither. The nice part about foam is it doesn't deteriorate like cork does. There's nothing wrong with cork. I still sell a lot of cork. I mean, I have it as an option. A lot of people like it, and it works. It's nice in the cold.
Yep.
My personal favorite is probably, I don't know if a lot of you people have probably seen like the woven carbon fiber grips now. Yep. It's kind of the raw weave. It's usually at like 45-degree angle weave. Those are fantastic. They're fantastic. They're so light. They're so sensitive. They're bulletproof. I mean, if they get full of worm juice and dirt and fish slime, you grab a soapy rag and wipe them off. and they, you know, they work. And
I suppose if you had like a cork, you're literally holding on to something that's deadening the bite.
yeah,
In a way,
cork,
right?
you know, a little bit. Like
Because pushing.
Straight up natural cork, still
Really?
pretty good. A lot of this
Isn't cork.
like composite cork now you see that dark.
Yep.
No, that stuff you can have. It's all full. There's rubber in it.
Oh.
You know, and you'll feel if you pick up a rod like that, you'll feel there's weight there in your hand. And yeah,
and because cork is light.
Cork is light.
Yeah.
You know, straight up natural cork is still a pretty darn good choice, especially in my opinion in the ice world. You know, if you just do a straight piece of cork, I know a lot of guys don't like, you know, taping a reel on or using the bands, but a straight piece of cork is still kind of hard to beat in the ice for sensitivity and lightweight.
Right. I can't do the bands. I tried the bands. I mean, we put like 30 of them on there. I feel like it.
Yeah. I honestly, if you're gonna do cork, my go-to is just hockey tape.
Yeah. I don't mind the what's the real like Clam has the tape, all that kind of stuff.
That tape works pretty good.
Or I started using,
it's kind of rubbery.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That's
so
true.
that hockey tape, if you take, and actually, what's that one?
The wing grip, some good stuff.
Wind grip's okay, but it's rubber.
Yeah,
it's rubber. If you're still after the ultimate sensitivity,
I suppose that way.
The rubber is
electrical tape.
Electrical tape's rubbery too. That's why I like the hockey tape. It's just a cloth. It's real light.
Oh,
but once you stretch it doesn't. You know, if you kind of wrap it tight, it doesn't stretch much. Like that reel won't move around. The hockey tape works good. That's probably there's a guy on YouTube. I forget his name. What is that? That big ice guy, Sobe or something like that.
Oh yeah, yep.
I saw him, and I have taken him. So I can't take credit for this. I'll give him. He's the first guy I saw do it, and I've done it for a few guys if they come to the shop and want something. Like say your ice rod's going to be for like walleyes or something where you're going to be fighting a little bigger fish. We'll take that strapping tape. You ever see the strapping tape? It's kind of clear, but it's got the fiberglass lines through it.
Yep.
It's really strong. You wrap like 1 or 2 wraps of that around the feet of the reel first. So it's real tight, strong, can't move. Then you just put a little hockey tape over that. That works really good too.
Think of that.
Yeah. But we build, I would say probably 60% of the ice rods I build are just a graphite reel seat now. You know, a lot of guys still, now that cork, a straight piece of cork still lighter.
Right.
But a lot of guys like the fact that they can just screw that reel on there.
Yeah.
And be done. Which is also nice. And they're still sensitive.
Yeah.
You know? So, but the carbon fiber grips are really hard to beat,
right,
in my opinion.
I'm guessing the cost-wise, it's rubber, cork, screw-on carbon fiber.
Yeah, it'd be your EVA, like the black foam, would be the cheapest.
Yep.
Then kind of that rubberized cork, then real cork. Then your carbon fibers are going to be, they'll be at the top. They'll be the highest.
Yeah.
But some of it's coming down though. I mean, they're not crazy outrageous anymore.
Right.
They're getting popular now, so there's more people doing it. A little more competition.
So if you're going to a big box store, do you go check out what's out there?
Oh yeah, I'll walk through there. I'll walk through there and kind of say, what are they doing here? What are they doing there? Oh yeah. Yeah, you gotta look a little bit. Yeah.
And what's the proper way to test the pull? Like when you're like, because everybody does the.
Yeah, don't do that. That does nothing. Take the rod. I always tell people this, because if you're letting the rod bend and you're letting the whole rod take the bend, you're never going to break a rod. But if you put your hand here and then try to bend, you put your hand a foot from the tip and then start pulling around,
you're in trouble.
You're playing with fire. Yeah.
When you see your buddy in the boat and he's got a fish on, he grabs that part of the pole, you know it's going to break.
That's not good. Yeah. Or flipping fish in the boat. That's another one where, I know everybody does it. A lot of people do it, but you're flirting with disaster when you're flipping fish, especially, now if you got a 7.6 heavy flipping stick for bass, that's a different story. Right. But if you're trying to flip I had a guy not long ago, he called me up and he said, "Oh, I flipped in a fish, but it was only like a 12-inch walleye." It's like, well, he had a nice medium light, nice light tipped rod. It's like, hey, a bluegill's going to break that if you do it wrong, or if you. The biggest thing is when guys flip a fish in, they'll get that rod too vertical. You get that rod too straight up and down, and then you swing that fish in and try to grab it, and miss it or something, and the fish.
Oh, the bounce.
The weight of that fish comes straight down. That's going to be a foot off. That'll be a foot off the tip. Bang. Every time. About the first foot, it'll break. Bang, right there.
That makes sense because you don't have. It can't bend down its rod because it's going to put the weight down the rod.
All the weight's just in the tip. It's only going to flex there and bang. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So the proper way to test the pole would be to grab the rod and just stick it out in front of you, preferably on some carpet or something. But as long as you're gentle, if it's cement or tile floor, it's not going to really hurt anything. But just take the tip of the rod and flex that on the floor and see how it flexes while you have the grip in your hand.
Yep.
That's when you're going to get a feel for how that rod's going to flex. I mean, taking it, bending it up here like that. You can feel, I guess, how soft it is on the tip. I
suppose, yeah.
But you'll get a lot better gauge for how the whole rod reacts when you do that, because you can look, and you're kind of looking down the rod, then you can kind of look and see where it we call it hits the wall, where it starts to hit the backbone.
It starts, okay.
Where you're going to get your flex in the first, let's say 12 to 24 inches usually is where you're going to have your majority of your flex, and then it starts to hit backbone and get stiffer. But
we can hope so people don't break as many rods at Fleet Farm anymore.
Anywhere. I don't like. Hey, stuff happens. I get it. And I always try to help guys out, but just a little bit of caution goes a long way.
Yeah,
you tell guys, if you don't have the patience to pick up the net, get the fish close to the boat and grab your line.
Yeah, right.
Just pick it up in the boat. Hey, if you break your line, you'd rather lose a jig. You'd rather lose a jig or a hook than break your fishing rod.
Right.
But,
yeah, it's funny too, because as we roll forward into spending more money on rods, there's a whole other industry in protecting those rods.
Yep.
With sleeves with the mesh. Now we have the foam sleeves.
Yeah, all different kinds of sleeves. The sleeves are great. I give it a sleeve comes with one of my rods. I give guys a sleeve, just the mesh ones.
Yep.
Because it's nice to be able to put that sleeve on them. You're a little more aware of them.
Right. Yeah.
Going in and out of the house and stuff. And
I recently started sleeving up, and I never did before, just because how my bow I could fit in the rods I wanted. I didn't want to have to play the game. And then I don't know who I saw that just in their rod locker, they just tore everything out.
Yep.
And just
a lot of guys are doing that.
And they just put I think they had
them all in there.
Had a foam thing on the back to kind of keep the reels off the ground, and just laid them all in there. And you could fit more in there, and they're easy to grab. So I started doing that. Actually, in the fall last year, I tried it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So I pulled all the stuff out, which was a pain in the ass pulling all that stuff out of the boat.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a small guy. I don't fit in there. So getting in there, getting it figured out, getting out of there and putting in there, I'm like, this is kind of nice. I kind of like this.
It is nice. Yeah. I still have the tubes in mine. But the other thing people don't realize too is if you sleeve them, you can fit two rods in a tube.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I have a pretty good sized rod storage in my boat, so I can fit. I had last year when we left for Canada, because I took my two sons and the young guy who works for me, he came along too.
Awesome.
And I have a 18.5-foot tiller boat with I think there's 12 tubes in my boat. I think there's 3 rows of 4. I think I had 30 rods in there when we left for Canada. And all sleeved up.
Yeah.
And then when we got, you get there, you pull out what you're going to use the most. The other stuff that set back in the truck for the week or whatever in case somebody needed something. But you can fit, if you use the sleeves, you can fit a lot more in there.
All right.
Because if you don't use the sleeves, trying to put 2 in one tube, you have guides getting stuck on each other. That's not gonna be good.
No, that's how I used to roll. And you had to put them in together at the same time.
Yep.
And I had a little bigger sleeve, so it wasn't bad, but that had been the same time. And then, you had to be careful.
Yep.
You couldn't take one at a time because then you'd break stuff.
You got to take, exactly. Yeah. So the sleeves are great. Yeah. They really are.
But yeah, it's funny how as we go, something backfills. And even in the world of sleeve protection, man, there's a bunch of companies out there now that went from 0 to 100 real quick.
Real fast. Yep.
Like I saw one company I liked and I wanted to try a foam sleeve, and tried it, and he sent me some stuff, and I liked it, and got a bunch of them. And all of a sudden, the next day, I'm like, there's like 30 of these companies. There's everywhere. Everybody's
they're
got
all over. Yeah, the foam, they're kind of like, I don't know if they're like neoprene.
Yeah, they're kind of neoprene. Yeah,
those are really nice, but they're heavy.
Yes, they are.
So you got to watch it in there, catch the wind. Big.
Well, the tips, I noticed they want to pull down when you go
really bounce. Yeah,
when you go to put stuff in. You got to be careful.
Like a lot of those, I know that one company, I forget what they're called. I have a few of those, and they do work really well. The hooks don't get in them much. Like it's pretty tough to get a hook in them and stuff, which is really nice. I
filmed a video with one, and I love that they float too, which is crazy. But like I took a big musky, and I could not get it in there.
Yeah,
like this, I mean, and if it did get stuck, it popped out super simple, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of nice.
The mesh ones are nice. They're light.
Yep.
They slip on and off, and
easy to put away.
Get a hook in them.
You're kind of hosed.
Yeah,
they're nice because you can store a bunch too.
Yeah.
The thing I don't like the neoprene is I have to find a place to put them yet. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm like, where am I going to put these?
We do the mesh ones. I mean, I'll be honest with you, like, you know, we're giving them away with a rod.
Yeah. So you're buying them.
Yeah. So we try to get stuff that's fairly inexpensive because I think my cost on like the neoprene ones was about $8-10 crack.
Yeah.
You know, that gets a little hard.
Right. That's hard
when you're trying to make a living. But we do. But I give everybody one with a rod because it's just nice,
right, to
be able to protect them. And
dumb things happen. I mean, I can tell you, my son wanted he's ironically a bass fisherman, and he wanted a rod, and I got one for his birthday, the one he wanted. I literally, no shit yet, I'm in the house to give it to him. I broke on the fucking door.
Oh.
I literally broke on the door. I thought I did the game where you open the door quick and you run in, right? And I snapped on the door.
But you hit it on something. And,
yeah. And I got in, and I literally went to give it to him. As I handed it to him, I'm like, oh shit. So I heard a tick at the door. I'm like,
okay.
I walked back by the door, and it broke right off. And I'm like, oh my God. I go, well, there you go. Boy, guess we'll get you another one. But
stuff happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And one, as a kid, I've always broke rod tips, and I've been kind of like, I buy a nice rod, but I don't go too crazy because I've always been, and maybe it's a bad thing that I kind of feel like they're made to be broken away in my mind, kind of, because I've always had an issue with breaking rods. My dad bought a Fenwick back when I was maybe 10 years old, and I slammed the truck door on it. He never used it. Actually, he never got the chance to use it.
Wow.
I broke it. So I'm always been very bad at what's 6 feet away from my hand, right? It's just one of those things. And so I think my brain has been trained to like, okay, it's going to be something that you're going to have 1 or 2 years with, and then you're probably going to have to move on, right? But recently, I've started taking care of them. I'm like, hey, I got some that are 5 years old.
If you take care of them, I mean, I got stuff that's 10, 12, 13 years old that I'm still using, and it's kind of sentimental now,
right?
You know, like it's like, oh, this rod,
put it away, hang it up.
But if you take care of them, they'll last forever.
Is there any special things you got to do with rods, and then like coating or anything you put on them, or just keep them clean?
No,
and dry?
I would say, I mean, there's nothing really special. I admit, like, maybe I'm a little more fussy than others, but like I'll when I store my boat for the winter, I bring them in the house. I leave them in the basement for the winter.
Is there anything different?
Just moisture and stuff. Like if you get too much moisture in your rod lockers, it'll actually almost, if you fish long enough, you've seen this before, especially if you go on a week-long trip and it rains or something. You get moisture in your rod locker, and then you get that mold on them. Mm-hmm. If that mold sits for a while, it'll like deteriorate the finish, the rod finish. So wherever you have a guide or wherever the guy put rod finish or epoxy on there, it's going to look all cloudy and nasty.
I got that.
I've seen that on many occasions.
I only take them out of the boat and store them in the garage, but I don't. I'm afraid of doorways. I just spend my
I mean, doorways are always.
Although funny fact, I was at Christmas time. I was up at the front counter here, and a couple just bought a whole new set of trolling rods.
Okay.
And he was paying, and she decided to take them outside. And she just about lost them all in the door. Some lucky bystander literally grabbed the door as they were getting like at least 4 tips and caught the door. And I'm like, whoa.
That was close.
Yeah. Doors and pulls don't get along.
No, they don't. I always like whenever someone comes over to my house and grabs a pole or a couple, and when they're leaving the house, I'm like, I'll come up and get the door for you. I always hold the door as they walk out. I'll walk out of the house, because let's just not have that happen.
Right.
Yep. But everybody's got stories they can tell about broken fishing rods, that's for sure. But
yeah, and it's just one thing that I've tried to, I think, because if I don't have to buy rods every year, and do you replace, not replace, you do free, not free, you do
I have like a replacement,
you do yeah,
like a fee, let's call it. I just tell guys, hey, I don't have the volume to be like, here.
But you repair though, right?
Yeah, we repair too. Yeah, we do a lot of repairs. If you break it bad, that it's done for. Depending which series of rod it is,
right?
Usually, what I do is like 150 to 100, anywhere between 100 and 150 for a new one. I'll just build you another one, as long as, you know, if a guy's local, I'll say, hey, bring it back to the house here. I can steal some parts.
I was wondering,
then I can save even a little bit more, you know. But I always try to help guys out. I tell me what happened. I'll help you out either way. Right. But musky rods are a little different story. They just take so much longer. So I can't quite do a replacement for that cheap, but we're usually around like 200 for a replacement on a musky, something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but you know, that is what it is. I know a lot of companies now, even bigger companies, are still doing that same type of deal. Like I think G Loomis is $100.
Yeah.
Well, most of them happen, it's $100.
Well, it used to be a lot cheaper too, though. I mean, St. Croix used to have basically $20, and
it's
times are changing.
Labor's not free, and parts aren't free. So trying to give people a little more incentive too to take care of their stuff. Right. It's not rocket science, but you get fish on and kids get excited and stuff happens once in a while. And it's going to keep happening. It's still fishing and stuff happens. But
yeah, it's funny that the thing that's the farthest away from your control is the most brittle part of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I always worry when the net goes out for a fish, comes in, and they both go on the floor.
I tell people this. This could save you a lot. Yes. As soon as that fish hits the net, when that fish is secured, it's in the net, open your bail.
Right.
Just open the bail. If you get in that habit, you will save yourself. I don't care what kind of fish it is.
You'll save a lot of
especially with like muskies and pike.
Right. Yeah, because they do that, and it comes up, and they both, even springtime walleye fishing coming up here. You'll see that same thing happen every 5-10 minutes, and it's like, you see a guy going, and he's trying to pick his hands up and get away from it real quick.
So if you get in that habit of just or free spool your reel, maybe open your bail on a spinning reel, hit free spool on your muskie reel or your bass reel. But muskies and pike, especially, once in a while they'll roll.
Oh, and you're gonna pull that line in there.
I had a good buddy of mine one time. I built him a muskie rod. First time he ever used it. Caught a beautiful muskie, probably 30 casts into a trip with his brand new muskie rod I just built him. He catches like really nice fish, like a 45-incher. But the thing I scooped it, and it just went ballistic. And it wrapped itself around and pulled the rod down right against the side of the boat. Bam, broke like 10 inches off the tip of his brand new rod. First fish he caught on it. And I'm just like, oh. Like, well, good thing you know the guy who built you that. But
right. So you do a lot of muskie rods then, or
a fair amount?
Why do you do muskie rods? Are you a muskie fisherman too, or?
I'm not as big a muskie fisherman as I used to be. I was pretty heavy into it for a while. Yeah. When I joke about it when I was young and dumb. I give muskie guys a lot of credit. It's work.
Yeah.
It's hunting. Right. It's more like hunting. You're going to have long periods of quiet and not much going on. And there's a part of me that definitely misses some of that. I like the chase of a trophy fish and the adrenaline when you get something like that. But I have kids now, and they like to fish with me, and I love to fish with them. Yeah. And
it's tough to go on a boat when you're not sure if you're going to catch something.
Exactly.
Or like a foul here or two. That's a good day.
A victory, right? Yeah. So I still have a lot of great muskie customers, and I still love building muskie rods. Absolutely. I don't use them as much as I used to, though. Yeah, for sure.
I have a place in my heart for musky lures for some reason.
Yeah.
I've never really.
Me too.
I mean, I've done some musky fishing, not really just trolling like in the bay and stuff like that, but like I just love them. And I buy them and I'll never use them. I just think that looks cool. And I hang them on my wall.
Oh, there's plenty of guys who do that kind of just collect, you know.
Right? There's something about them.
Most of the musky baits I have a fair amount of musky baits in my basement, and they haven't gotten used a whole lot in the last few years, but that's kind of gone the way of the custom rod. You have all these little custom bait makers that just do beautiful stuff. And so many people, I almost feel like, I don't know if this is the case, but from speaking with a lot of musky fishermen, like there's more guys buying just custom musky baits now from people than going and buying, big name store-bought brand musky stuff. I would venture to say that's probably true. I mean, I haven't bought when I did all the shows and stuff, started off, I met guys and just, really cool guys who were the same as me, just wanted to build something great and took their time and, built something to be proud of, really nice, beautiful musky baits. And so now, like, if I needed a bait, I would call one of those guys. I wouldn't go to the store.
Right. I even find it like, and when you go places like the musky shop in Managua, half of that place is custom. Custom stuff. Like you walk down, and I went into it a couple of years ago for the first time, and I was just dumbfounded that I'd never been in a store way up north that had the walleye area is maybe 8 feet, and then the store is so massive.
That's such a great store.
And you walk up and down there, and like I said at the time, I don't think I had fished muskies at the time, but I was in there for an hour and just looking at all the different stuff. And then we got in a whole section. It was just an aisle over, and I was like, this is all custom stuff. This is crazy to me. There's many customs in here. Yeah,
it's awesome. I mean, I would venture to say, somebody might have to check me on this, but I would venture to say more guys are just buying custom musky baits now than store-bought stuff.
I would assume I guess in too, because it's musky fishing is kind of a very niche in the fishing world as it is, right?
It's very niche.
If a big company's making them, they're probably not making, not selling a lot of lures. It's not like Berkeley, right? That are selling a million freaking flicker shads every day. It's that's crazy.
Yeah. It's neat. It's neat what's going on in the fishing world. I mean, I think, I was talking about it with my wife yesterday, and just like how things have changed. It's more competition, but I think it's good. Like we talked about how, so much stuff we buy nowadays is just junk.
Yeah.
Like your appliances. It's like my wife and I have lived in our house for 13 years, and we've replaced every single appliance, some of them more than once. We bought them all brand new when we moved in. And it's like, I don't mind paying decent money for something if it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But this stuff we're paying big money for nowadays, and it's junk. That's what just frustrates the heck out of me.
Yeah.
And that's why I do what I do, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be nice if, like, not to go too politicky here, but it'd be nice for, other than as obviously we're in fishing, we see all the local for jigs and all that stuff coming. It'd be nice if that all have for everything. I know. Yeah. Bringing stuff back to America and making things for people to make. And that'd be nice, because that is I think I guess it's 50-50 to me, how I feel about people. If there's somewhere, it seems like as the older they get, they can, maybe because they can afford more of it, so they're, older guys are going to, I'm just buying American stuff, and the younger guys are just trying to get out there.
Trying to get what they can afford. And I'm not ragging on anybody for what, you got to buy what you can afford, and whatever you can afford to get you out on the water, do it. You know what I mean? I'm not pointing fingers or looking down at anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I guess I'm just saying, it just pisses me off to buy stuff that
doesn't make
expensive and it isn't very good.
And it's not made to last either, which is really weird.
Exactly. They know they fail. They know you'll need a new one. Hey, you got to have a fridge, right?
Most of the time they know how it's going to fail.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Exactly. No, and that kind of stuff just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But that's why, I guess, I don't know. I kind of buy once, cry once type thing, right? With not just fishing stuff, but everything.
Right.
But
so, what? How do you feel about the length of the rods? So they seem to be getting longer. I see some 9-foot stuff coming out there. Where are you on that? And are you making big long stuff yet? Or
I make long stuff for guys. If they want it, I'll build it. I mean, That's a pretty controversial topic, especially in the musky world, but in really any world.
I couldn't swing that.
It's kind of funny when I'll do I do a lot of shows.
Yep.
And you'll get guys that come in the booth, and it's almost just like we were talking, like they get brand loyal, right?
Yep.
Like they get I want to use this length rod. That's all I want to use.
Mm-hmm.
But they get like, okay, right? Let's say 20 years ago, 6 foot walleye rod was the deal, right?
Right.
That's 5'9", 6 foot, 5'6". Like that's all anybody used. Can you catch fish with those? Absolutely, you can catch fish with those. But not a lot of people are making stuff like that anymore. Like there's very, very few blanks I can get. They're there.
Yeah.
But there's not that many options because not as many people are going that route. But you'll get somebody comes in the booth like, does anybody make a 5.5 foot rod anymore? And I'll be like, I can make you one. Absolutely, I can make you one. But you're probably not going to find one in the store.
Yeah.
No, probably not. Maybe an ultralight.
Yeah.
Or something, you know.
Hey listeners, let's talk outdoor streaming. What is the best outdoor streaming platform out there? Well, it's simple. It's Fix TV. Not only do they have this great program, but they have all kinds of hunting and fishing shows along with some weaponry shows. So when you get bored and need something to do, get your fix with Fix TV. And when you're done with that and you have that fix to get out in the outdoors, jump on therealshot.com and get everything you need to satisfy your fix.
So you do, and then you'll get the opposite. The guy will come in and I'll have, most of the stuff in my booth at a show is going to be between 6.5 and 7.5.
Yep.
You know, that's your bread and butter.
Pretty much wherever's at
in the
right
walleye
now.
world.
Yep.
Bass, panfish, walleye, you're going to be in that neighborhood. But you'll get guys that come in and, well, don't you got anything longer, like 8 foot, 9 foot? I'm like, I can make you anything you want, but I don't bring those to the shows because I might sell one, I might not.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just not something we stock. No. I think if you're asking me my opinion, like let's say walleye. If you're straight up vertical jigging, use whatever you want. If you like a 5.6, go for it. Serious.
Yeah,
like
right.
if you're just vertical, if your line's just overside the boat, do whatever you want.
Yep.
Now, can you vertical jig with a 7.2? Absolutely. You can absolutely jig with a vertical jig with a 7.2. Where it starts to get into more little bit length specific stuff is what if you're pitching jigs. Like, hey, are you pitching an 1/8 ounce jig 40, 50 feet from the boat and dragging it back? Then you're going to want a 7 foot, 7.2, something like that. Just to pick up your slack faster, better hook set for further away from the boat. You can cast it further. I think the optimum is still in that 7 foot range. It's just a nice, versatile. A lot of stuff's going 7.2 now, which is a great length. That's probably, if you ask me, I probably have a 7.2 in my hand most of the time these days. 6.10, I still have a couple of like 6.10 medium light, extra fast. I still really like that. That, for pitching a light jig is really nice too. In the hair jig world,
which is back. It's back now.
Hair jigs for both walleye and smallmouth. Now the smallmouth guys are trying to throw a 1/16 or an 1/8 ounce hair jig as far as they can. The walleye hair jigs, like especially on the bay or rivers, lakes, usually they're at least 3/16 quarter. You don't need too much help casting those. They'll go. Most of the guys I sell hair jig rods for, walleyes were still in that probably 7.2, still the most popular. But the smallmouth stuff, it starts to get a little tricky, and that's where we've really played around with that quite a bit. Because for a while, like I think even St. Croix, which not ripping on anybody here, I think they had it, maybe still do. They went to like an 8.6 medium light. So we played around with not a St. Croix, but a blank from my, that was 8.6. And it worked really well. But then I said, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. And I took a 7.6 medium light fast. took the 8.6 medium light fast. Let's go. We're going in the backyard. We took the same exact reel, same exact line, same exact jig.
Start casting.
Let's start casting. We could cast 7.6 farther. I think the 8.6, there's just so much more mass. It's big. Like you can't get the speed with it. I think it's just that, you know,
Gotcha. Yep.
like we were casting the 7.6 20 feet farther. So I think there's a point of like diminishing returns when you start getting really long. I think you're losing speed.
I gotcha.
You're losing speed on the whip, you know, like.
Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's just seriously stuff like I'm in the backyard in the grass, just firing
jigs,
firing hair jigs across the yard with the young guy who helps me. And it was like, all right, there's our answer, right?
Right.
So the hair jig smallmouth stuff, we've kind of told guys, hey, we don't see too much of an advantage to going over 8 feet.
Right.
And you'll get a little bit better feel with you know, we felt like you couldn't feel quite as good with that really long rod. Plus, it's a little heavier.
Yeah.
But with that 7.6, we made some 7.9s too. We were making for guys, and I still do. Just had better feel, and they casted better.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. At some point, that stuff's gotta. You only get so long, right? I mean.
Yeah, and I think there's, you know, the muskie world now too is just on fire. Guys are going 10 foot, 10 foot now and stuff, and they cast really well, great figure eights and stuff, but they're big.
It's a lot of work.
They're big and they're heavy. I mean, they're light for a 10 foot, like, you know, heavy or extra heavy power rod. We could make them actually pretty light, but that's a big setup in your hands all day. Absolutely.
That's crazy.
So, but length is pretty subjective. I think too many guys get caught up thinking you can only do things one way.
Yeah.
You can be effective in a lot of different ways with a lot of different.
There's you know, one of the famous, like, I call it like YouTube B-rolls is, this is my rod I have today. I'm using the 7.6 so-and-so with this, and this, and everybody assumes that I said 7.6, you need to fish this jig with that thing, right? Everybody wants to get pigeonholed in that.
Yeah.
You probably have what you need in your arsenal.
Yeah.
I was rigging my stuff up last night. I have 6 rods. They're all basically the same rod. I mean, it feels different, but it's like it's a 6.9 to 7.3.
Yeah.
And that's it.
You get in that range, and I tell guys, they'll come, because some guys will come to me and say, all right, if I come by you and I'm going to spend a couple $100 on a rod, I want 2 rods that I can do
everything with.
Yeah. So it's like, well, okay, here's a 7.2 medium light. Here's a 7.2 or 7 foot medium.
Right.
Go crazy. You can do almost anything in the walleye world with those 2 rods.
Yeah.
That involves spinning.
Yeah.
Right. Not trolling and stuff. But
I mean, because at some point, the specialization of those rods is just to sell more rods.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, it's kind of a marketing ploy in a way. Like, I kind of felt there was a company that came up with long rods. There was a custom one that did like long walleye rods. I kind of felt like that was more about a marketing ploy than it was actual ploy to catch fish.
There's some, you know,
I mean, maybe it worked
some benefits to it, but exactly, what's the job of someone who's a marketer, right? To try to make somebody think they can't live without something, right? And that's not the case. I mean, you just look at anything, not just fishing rods, reels.
Yeah.
There's always the next greatest thing coming out. And some of that stuff is phenomenal, but that doesn't mean you can't catch fish with something that's sitting in your boat right now.
Correct.
You know, absolutely. People get caught up in that. And it's just like I told you with the people coming to me at shows, like, oh, I want a 6 foot vertical jigging rod. Okay. Did you ever try jigging with a 6.6 or a 6.8? You can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Absolutely. I mean, longer rods do fight a fish better. Though.
Yes.
You know, they'll keep that arc.
Yep.
And just do a better job of keeping fish pinned, especially.
But they keep a fish pinned once they're, but getting to that point is a little longer too, though, right? I mean, you know, if you're setting the hook to get to jam it home, the longer the rod, the more bend in it, it's going to be a little more before it gets home, right? Because you have to get to that breaking point.
Yeah, slightly. You're getting to still got to get to that backbone point that's going to drive that hook in there. But the longer the rod is, the quicker your line's getting picked up and stretched tight. So
Horse piece. It's no, probably
it
not.
might be horse a piece. I just think once a fish is hooked,
Yeah.
the longer the rod is,
Better
the
chance,
more,
yeah.
especially with braid. You know, people, that's a lot of things people overlook, especially the last, what do you think braid's exploded the last 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think for most people, last 5 years.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I think that for most of the just average anglers, tying that uni knot was terrifying for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? I think in the last 5 years, all the videos and stuff, or maybe 5 years ago, people really started using it and being comfortable using it.
Yeah.
Prices came down. And just being able to tie that new.
You're right. Probably braid hit the scene 10, 12
Yeah.
years ago and got, people really took to it.
And the pros were using it, and all the rest of us used it at first, and we'd set the hook and our shit would be gone, and you figure out how to use it.
But what people don't realize, or I think more people are realizing this, but braid, there's no stretch, right? So we went from mono or fluoro or whatever, which very stretchy.
Yep.
The fish will have a lot easier time getting slack with braid because it doesn't stretch. So if they shake their head back and forth or jump, slack becomes a problem much quicker with braid.
That's why you rod long.
So your longer rods, and actually, I tell people this: you're way better off if you're using braid. You're way better off to err on the softer side of the rod than too stiff.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
Because you want them to be able to pull that back.
The rod, you need a shock absorber.
Mm-hmm.
It's now the rod. There is no mono. Mono was the best shock absorber in the world.
Right.
I mean,
Real away.
you were your traditional, 6'8", 6'10", medium, extra fast, like big time backbone power.
Yep.
Years ago, not the best rod to be using anymore with braid.
No.
Because it's got so much power, you'll rip a hole in their lip when you set the hook.
Right.
For one. So now you got a hole in their face.
Yep.
And now you got a short rod and no stretch.
Every
so
turn.
If they shake, especially with like shiver minnows and stuff, they can get slack. They'll throw that bait around. Yep.
Yeah, the heavier baits. And we've got a lot of that stuff nowadays with them.
Yeah.
With everybody's tossing the death rigs, things like that. Yeah.
Where you're going to be better off. I know a lot of guys like, shiver minnow or, chicken wrap, whatever, what's the hyper rattles, those type of baits.
Plain baits.
Phenomenal baits. But everybody thinks, this thing weighs 3/4 of an ounce, right? So I need a medium or medium heavy that can handle. You'd be better off with like a medium fast action, like something that's got some give, and people will be like, well, I can't get the bait to pop. The bait will pop. Just just pop it. The bait will pop, and but you want a rod that's going to have some give.
Yeah. So
that fish can stay pinned.
Yeah, I think so many times we forget about all the little things that go into it, right? That, we grew up, 20 years ago, and it was strand mono on everything, no matter what. And you had your heavies, 5, 9, 6 foot reels, rods, if you can.
Yep.
And that was it. And that's what you had, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about the same thing. And now you have all the different kinds of line. If it's fluoro, mono, people bringing mono back and doing full lines with them now because they're.
I know, guy. I had a really good customer of mine, big tournament guy, very good fisherman last year. He's like, for my shiver fishing, straight fluoro. I went straight fluoro. He's like, been phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't gone that route yet. I'll be honest with you. I still run braid, but I actually, when I run shivers, I'm not running the really big ones. I use a medium light.
Really?
And I don't lose many fish.
You're making up with the mono with the tip then, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm running braid.
Yeah.
But I'm running a medium light. I'm running a soft tipped rod. So, so many times if they pin it, right, then you go to make you just go to make that next rip, and there it is. If you have too stiff of a rod, you might pull it right out of his face right there.
Right.
But teach their own. But there's more than one way to do stuff.
Right. It's funny talking to a rod builder, like just your insights of different ways how you think of, you think of fishing through a rod, kind of, right?
Somewhat, I guess. Yeah. Or if something goes wrong, like if I lose a fish, or what do you think happened there? Or, but we're always trying to figure stuff out. But so that's, like I say, sometimes we're in the backyard casting stuff and figuring out what works good. And sometimes that's the best way to do things.
Right.
You hearsay. This rod casts far. This length casts better.
Mm-hmm.
Go see.
Yeah. So one other thing I wanted to ask you about, we touched on it a little bit at the fishing show, is you do rods mixed together.
Yeah, some hybrid stuff.
How does that work?
Well, when a rod blank is built, it's a sheet. It's a very thin. It's a sheet of graphite, right, or carbon fiber.
Yep.
Micro thin. They roll it. It's rolled onto a mandrel, and then it's cured. There's resin that holds everything together. So the hybrid stuff, so like for trolling rods, for some crankbait rods, even some of our ice rods are hybrid. So the bottom section of the blank is carbon graphite. The tip section is the glass. So they actually, you got two sheets, two different materials woven together, and they're fused together with the resin. Then it works. If you want a rod with a soft tip, like a trolling rod, right? Your trolling rods, you want to be soft. You want to have some give. They work so good. They work so good because you got the give up front. It's very tough. It's durable, but you got the backbone. The whole thing's not a noodle. You got some little bit of muscle on the bottom half. Really nice.
Oh,
and the ice rods work really good in that.
Oh, I bet,
because in the cold, graphite's more brittle. So you get that glass tip. You're still getting that action, and you're getting pretty good feel. Those ice, and because that glass is so strong, they can actually, at least the ones I'm using, are hollow. So you're getting real good sensitivity. A lot of your ice blanks are solid, solid core.
So is that something new, or is it something that's
it's not new. I would say it's gotten more popular. There's lots of different types of glass now that they're starting to use too that are lighter weight, which is really nice stuff that I have. The glass is actually like, it's light. It's super light. It's half the weight of what our traditional fiberglass is.
Crazy.
So yeah.
So is there, what uses would that be for like a walleye rod? Is there any use? I mean, is there any stuff like that?
In the walleye world, you'd be talking trolling. Like trolling rods, it works really well.
But nothing like spinning world, none of that stuff would work.
I mean, you could if something you really wanted a soft front half.
Can you decide where it goes, or no? Well, the blank's the blank.
They can, yeah. I mean, they could make them however you want. Like, how far down you want the glass. Matter of fact, I'm working on a blank right now. That is going to be like a walleye or spinning bass that has just a little bit of that fiberglass towards the tip for a certain technique. We'll see if that. Cool. Yeah, but yeah, it's only going to be like the first foot.
Oh, see, that would be to me an ice fishing. Like Minnesota people do the tip up thing. They just do the pulse on a bucket, it seems like.
Yeah,
what do they call that?
Tip down.
Yeah, tip down, something like that. That would be kind of nice for that world.
Yeah,
because you're just
like a dead stick.
Rod. Yeah, dead stick rod. Yeah.
Yep. You want something that can flex, that the fish can take it. And we have pretty good dead stick. I mean, for a dead stick rod, you could use something that's like solid glass. I
suppose.
Got good flex.
Yeah.
Good flex. They're pretty tough. They're bulletproof. That's a good way to go for a dead stick rod because you don't need a whole bunch of feel.
Right. I suppose that you're just, it's there.
Yeah.
So how long from order time does it take for you to get stuff done? What's your busy part of the year? When's people order?
Right now, busy part of the year. We're in March here. So that's, I would say my March through May is usually pretty nuts. So like right now we're probably out like at least 4 weeks, 4 to 6. I try to keep it as short as I can. That's going to be about the worst it'll be ever.
It's just that time of year though.
Right now. As soon as we get to May, I'll be caught up. And heck, sometimes guys, once it's May, June, July, August, a lot of times I can turn around in a couple days.
Oh, Jesus.
If I'm not too deep in the books, hey, guy calls me and needs something. Usually within a week I can get it to him,
It's the time of the year.
I keep rods in stock though too. Like I always have, like right now I probably have 40 rods sitting downstairs ready to go. That if a guy guy needs something, I I haven't put it on social media yet because I've been really busy. And but I'll put something on social media here in the next day or two saying, hey, I have rods here.
Right.
And as soon as I do that, I know they'll be gone shortly. But we try to keep the weights as least as possible. That's one of the things I've always struggled with. I feel like I would like to get stuff to guys as quick as I can, but with the way we do stuff and just me and one other guy,
right?
That's where we're at right now.
Oh.
And it's worked. It's worked so far. It's worked.
Right.
So.
I mean, there would be no. I mean, it's tough when everybody orders at the same time too. I'm guessing, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
it's human nature.
Yeah.
Right.
The season's coming.
We always. I do it too.
Yeah.
Like, if you know you want a new walleye rod in spring, hey, order it December or January, and then in February you have it.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody waits and orders it in March,
right?
And then, but that's just the way we are. That's the way we're wired. I do it with all kinds of stuff.
People don't look for.
I have a lot of customers though who they're on top of it. Like they'll send me an email in December saying, "Hey, this is what I want." So I'll put it in the book, and boom. And then a lot of times, what they'll do even is, "Hey, I want these 2 rods. I'll be at the Green Bay show. Bring them there with you. I'll pick them up."
Oh, that's
perfect.
Cool.
You know, and then they got their rods, and they're good to go. They're not waiting. They're not waiting once it's March and April and everybody wants to get out.
And you ship all over the place.
Yeah, we can ship. We can ship the lower 48, no issue. Anywhere in the lower 48. It gets a little hairy when we go to Canada. I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I can ship to Canada. You just have to pay duty and everything. Like the customer has to pay. It gets kind of pricey. It's like let's say a 200.
Meet me at the border kind of thing.
Well, now I think I can send a lot of Canadians have they'll come right over the border. Like there's actually places.
Oh, you can
where
ship
they'll
them
get
too.
stuff shipped to, which is in the States. Like I know there's a couple in North Dakota, there's a couple on top of Minnesota, and they'll just come down and get their stuff. But then they got to still take it back through the border, and they probably got to pay duty on it or whatever they got to do. But shipping to Canada really isn't. Or it's usually, like the last rod I sent to Canada, I think it was about $55 shipping.
That's not terrible.
Yeah, but then I'm a business. I have to declare the value of it. So there's a sheet of paper you put in there. Hey, this rod cost $199.99. It was $200.
Yeah.
So then the government when that person picks that package up, they have to pay it. So it is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, shipping we ship all over. Lower 48, we're good to go. Usually anywhere between let's say 18 and $30. Usually $30 will be if we're getting out California or something farther away. Yeah,
not terrible. And you can customize anything you want, basically.
Quite a bit of stuff. I mean, if you want to go crazy, we can go crazy. You can customize anything.
Right.
But
do anything for money, right? Colors, eyes,
lots of different colors,
everything you can do pretty much.
I mean, we have kind of our staples that we keep in the shop and use a lot of, and we got 3 or 4 different spinning guide options that we already have. Like, you want these or these. If there's something else you want and you can tell me what it is, I can get it and we'll use it. No, I don't have an issue. Might cost you a little more.
Right.
It's if it's those Torsites we talked about, it'll be more. But grips, we have a lot of different grips.
Oh, I suppose
I have probably basically 4 grips that we use a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's something else, there's a lot of other options out there. The grips we keep are ones that I like, and they're comfortable, and they're super light, sensitive. But you can fish them all day. Your hand's not getting tired. There's not going to be anything digging into your hand. That's yeah. So
how do they go about ordering? They want to order
you can order them right off the website. I have a website. You can order them right online. You can call. That's probably the 2 easiest ways. But
there you go.
I mean, my phone number's on the website. Everything I tell guys, there's no way I could possibly list everything I can do. Yeah. So if you don't see something, call me.
Yeah.
chances are we can do it.
Right.
So, yeah.
That works. Well, thanks for being on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got one last question.
Okay.
If you only could go fishing one more time, where are you going? What you taking? Who you taking? And what you fishing for?
Going to Canada for walleyes, and I'm taking my wife and kids and taking my wife and kids and my mom and dad and a couple other family members that usually come, like my uncles. We get kind of a fun trip. That's where I'm going, and I'm taking a medium light, throwing light jigs.
I was going to ask you, what do you take? What are you using?
That's what I'm doing. I'm taking my 7.2 medium light and I'm pitching 1/8 ounce jigs. That's my favorite thing to do.
Awesome.
Light jigs for walleyes and smallmouth and stuff like that. That's just, I don't know. I love it.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for being on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And if you're looking to be on an episode of Walleye Chronicles, like I said, hit me up my socials at Matt Snell on Facebook or Instagram, and at on the TikTok at Smile and Fish. Until then, there's 2 things you can do every day to make somebody's life better. One is you can give them a smile until you can take them fishing. So thanks a lot.